Part 7. The Machine. There is so much to be said. It is most difficult to stick to one train of thought and ignore the presence of others. You see, it isn't thinking that these connections are made, by letting the mind flow and wander where it will. Crystal Dawn stopped reading when Winston told Julia he had the book, and she said, "That's nice, dear," and it didn't come up again for another half an hour. He excitedly told her the amazing power of this book and that all should read it, just as she was saying to Erasmus. Then Julia sleepily suggested that he read it so she could listen and hear of it. Crystal glanced over at Erasmus driving, waiting to hear the next page. It was eerily similar. She had not once flipped ahead in the book to learn of the future, but in this instant she just had to know. Yep, just as suspected, Julia had fallen asleep after what seemed like a good 3 pages of pure world-changing goodness. These were the words that explained our society, how it truly is, and how it can be fixed. What could possibly be more important? Surely, just as Winston had believed, everyone needed to hear these words, and so too Crystal had to ensure all knew this truth. Strangely enough, George refers to the machine. Perhaps somewhere in her time, Crystal had already heard this phrase. Maybe it existed in the pages of Animal Farm. In Animal Farm Part 2, The Machine, Crystal thought she had been original in her idea that once pigs and men had reached an alliance, they created a machine together. This machine would be sustainable, which is able to be maintained at a certain rate or level, able to be upheld or defended. And it is run by the people, all the people. The inner party, outer party, and proles, all of society was the energy running the machine. It was not sustainable, though, as the earth did not carry enough resources for such consumption of goods. There was enough for all, but to maintain the machine, large amounts of resources had to be disposed of through war, just as a fire needs fuel and air and heat. There doesn't need to be a spark. It could be an immense amount of energy. Spontaneous combustion from the amount of heat produced by the machine started fires everywhere. Wars and disputes broke out continually, both internally and within one's own home. The earth could be explained in mythology as the celestial woman that one day, along with her family, curled up for a long restful slumber. The sun, her father, warmed her in favor. Other siblings were closer and more distant from their father, but all held within his immense gravitational pull. The energy of the father, the sun, is great, you see. So great was he, yet even he had an impending collapse one day. The entire family slowly separated from one another in what was perceived to be inevitable entropy. The earth was the most favored of the celestial children. This favor bore life. Life was energy made possible by everything. The entire fabric of the universe was within every living being. Carbon made their bodies. Hydrogen and oxygen created the water that flowed through the veins of everything. A web covered the woman-like skin in a protective, sensitive, connected layer of nerves. It was the fungi. Just as mites cover a person's skin to remove dead cells, the fungi, too, protected the woman and cleansed her of the dead upon her. The humans on the surface of the earth were the fastest to evolve. The woman provided everything that all species depended on it needed to survive. Some recognized her as Mother Earth and celebrated her natural beauty and medicine. The earth was sustainable, and any species that were not go extinct. Mankind was on the extinction list and was already considered the walking dead. The people had become zombies and literally attacked and killed anyone with an opposing thought. Much like the thought police of 1984, Karens enforced the common belief, more their own reality projected upon the world, with great loud voices and much taken offense. Although recognized for being irrational and actually despised, they maintained their position and continued to spread hate, taking personal offense to all those contrary in opinion. Ah, the machine! Okay, so you see, When men and pigs came together to create this sustainable machine, they had in fact unearthed or mutilated Mother Earth to expose her heart. Like a comatose patient, she lay, breathing heavily pained breaths from the poisons they filled her lungs with. The water that ran through her veins was poisoned, and her body struggled to fight off the infection. Her blood could only filter so much at a time, and mankind was waterboarding her. Would you believe mankind, still unable to explore her depths, still manages to scrape the insides of her womb for cysts, more and more eliminating any chance for reproduction and rebirth? They slaughter the children of her womb, with no other excuse than man's greed. They disguise it as a need for food. Pearls are sent out in the most dangerous of conditions. All are chained to the pirate ship in an endless servitude of death and destruction. Were they ever given the chance to see something better? Were there other, safer jobs available to these people that raped the earth and killed their children? Were there other means available to feed their bellies and survive? No. The pearls were not helped by the people of the world and continued running the machine, raping and pillaging the woman, not by choice, but by a need for survival. Crystal stopped writing. It was the heart that was the key. She would need Gerasimos and his knowledge of biology to help explain to the people what had happened to the Earth's heart. For when the truth was revealed and the animals found out what men and pigs had done, they were going to need it explained in a way that touched the common understanding of everyone. The heart had been mined about it and lay in an open, deep pit, surrounded by scaffolding to reach all around. All parts could be accessed from these scaffolds. It sounds shabby, but they had placed a facade on the front so as to make it appear attractive. The heart was clearly dying, if it had not already died a long while back. It was kept alive with artificial means. Hoses attached here and there, and the resonating thud was not that of a human heart at rest, but that of a frightened animal. It was not a natural pulse, but a forced, machine-driven pulse, that of a steam engine, that with each forced push there was a guaranteed forced pull. The heart had long ago begun to spring leaks and was quickly bandaged. They never asked why the damage occurred, but sought only to fix the immediate problem before them. That was mankind's problem, don't you know? They recognized the problems and either chose not to look at them and rely on the self-healing powers of the heart, or they sought a means to bandage it as quickly as possible for the purposes of maintaining the machine. Mankind was like that. Shutdowns were created because so much waste was produced throughout production that it became a fire hazard. As minimally as possible, once a year, a special staff was brought in to work around the clock in shifts to repair and clean as much as possible within that given time frame. There was never enough work done to properly fix anything, just bandages. The bandages eventually festered into tumors. Some were benign, some malignant. The malignant tumors became metastatic and traveled throughout the whole body of Mother Earth. Now the problem was in 2022 that it was said not one man could do all the tasks required to do something as simple as creating a pencil. And it was true. Something as complicated as the removal of tumors from a heart they had not fully gained an understanding of, would surely lead to the death of the patient. If the patient dies, and all life forms dependent on her die too. The surgery was far too risky for anyone to even consider. To even consider such things was illegal and labeled as treason and inciting violence and destruction. Granted, this belief was only held by those in power, those of the smallest minority in power, and spread throughout society. This surgery was required for the survival of everything, and would require every person of every specialty on earth to perform.